why do you personally want to get involved with Mikeysline?
I think the most important thing initially was that obviously we have an issue in the Highlands with young suicides and mental health problems, and it's a massive thing now in football itself, and also having had some issues personally, I think it's important that people realise what's on offer. And Mikeysline gets involved at a very young age, which is important, that people think that youngsters are immune. They're not, not at all. So it's important we get the message out there. It's important that the message is clear, that there are people to listen, here to listen to you. There are people here to give some advice and just to talk. And that's the most important thing I felt, was that there was someone there to speak to in general when I was going through my problems. And it took a weight off my shoulders, it took a weight off my mind, and it was important to know that that backup is there. And that's what we've got to do in the Highlands in particular, is show people that there's a backup for them and there's a help there, and there's no need to be afraid to ask.
Great. And what does the charity mean to you?
Well, it's just what it says in the tin, that it's there to help, and it's important that people out there realise that there's people here to help and listen. And that's always the biggest fear that you've got, especially as a male. I think men in particular have problems coming out and speaking to people and telling people that they may have issues. There's this macho thing that we're supposed to be strong, we're supposed to be tough. That's a nonsense. Mental health, well-being, and suicidal thoughts can affect anybody of any gender, and it's important that whoever you are, whatever you're feeling, please come forward and get some help.
Okay, is there anything personal in relation to mental health that's relevant that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I've said already, I went through some issues there. I lost members of the family in the pandemic, and combined with my job, it hit me very, very hard. I wasn't sleeping, I was getting irritable, I was only sleeping 1, maybe 2 hours a night, and instead of going and seeking help and asking people and telling people that I was feeling exhausted, I was feeling drained, I kept it to myself. And the longer you keep it to yourself, the more, unfortunately, it eats away at you, and you become more fatigued, you become more drained, and ultimately that leads to confusion in your mental well-being. And that was the script, is that if anybody out there feels drained, you feel tired, you feel fatigued, please speak to somebody. Even if it's first point of contact your GP, then tell them about it. Your family members, just have a little chat with them. So from a personal aspect, I wish I'd done that sooner. But I felt I could keep going, I felt I could manage it, and unfortunately that wasn't the case.
Okay, thank you for that. And general thoughts, I think you've touched on this a wee bit, but on football being like a macho environment, are there moves to become more open and talk more about mental health, or do you think there's quite a long way to go still?
Football in general has been doing a good job. The PFA in particular and the SFA have put forward lots of initiatives, helplines as well to talk to for various issues, not just mental well-being. There's things like gambling and certain other addictions as well. So generally speaking, the SFA and the PFA are doing a good job, but I think from us as a football club, Inverness in particular, we need to speak to our younger players in the academies. We need to speak to our younger pros, because they have to deal with all different pressures. And there is a stigma still in football in general, that you have to have this macho image and this full heterosexual image where nothing affects you, nothing's wrong with you. That's not the case. That's not the case anymore. I think players are coming around to the fact that they do need help from time to time with the various pressures. People say they're role models, and they are, but with that comes a pressure that they're expected to act in a certain way and be seen in a certain way and not have any issues, whether it's mental health being or suicidal thoughts. But unfortunately, football players are no different to any other members of the general public. They have their own thoughts, they have their own well-being issues, and it's important that we understand that and we can get there to speak to it. So as I say, football in general has done well, but it can do so much more. And for us now, Inverness, Calendonian Thistle, and myself as the ambassador here at Mikeysline, it's important we get the message out there to everybody of every gender, that if you're feeling anything at all down in any way, shape or form, please get in contact with us.
Okay. And how do you see your role in opening up the football community and wider, so talking, you know, to fans about mental health prevention and getting messages out there?
The main thing is what we're doing right now. It's making people aware. It's as simple and straightforward as that. There's no magic wand that I have that's suddenly going to make everybody open up and talk about their thoughts. But it's a making aware that we're here, that Mikeysline's available, that there are people listening and ready to listen even more and willing to talk to you about ways forward and help. And that's the most important thing we can do. It's as simple as what it would be wonderful if we had a magic wand and just said to anybody who's feeling down or a wee bit low, you're now going to come and contact us. So that's not the case. And as I said, it's just getting through to people that there are avenues for them to speak to people, there are avenues for them to get help, and that we can you know, slowly eradicate these well-being thoughts and these suicidal thoughts and turn them around and make sure that going forward that they've got a healthy life plan, healthy thoughts and a happier way of life going through, because that's what we all seek, that's what we're all after. And I say in terms of you know, being an ambassador, that's my role. It's my role is to get into the community whenever I can and do things like this, just to make people aware that the process is there, not to be scared. There is no stigma attached. Nobody is ever going to know you've came and sought advice, but the most important thing is to seek that advice, because it will help and you will come through the other end.